Welcome back to Journeymen, brought to you by the good folks at Meadowlark Media and the DraftKings Network. I'm Andrew Hawkins, former 7-year NFL veteran, 2-time Emmy nominee, an 8-time St. Patrick's Elementary School Olympic Day class champion. My biggest feat. Today on Journeymen, we talk Miami Heat in the NBA Finals, Deshaun Watson, and the future of tech with Ricky Williams.
I'm not sure what's happening right now with my table placement.
What? It seems very normal to me.
I feel like I'm getting got here a little bit.
Oh, does it feel vulnerable?
Wow.
Do you feel kind of like the world can turn on you at any moment and you'll be helpless against it?
I'm just sandwiched in between Andrew Hawkins and Brad Williams, and typically this is not how the power dynamic works.
Wow, I'm offended that you think
that I have more power than him. You would.
Being higher in the world is a power dynamic.
You would.
I carry a knife at all times. There's not a time where I don't feel confident.
I'm very unsettled right now.
Anything could happen and I'd be with it.
I'm on my heels because someone has lowered my chair to the floor setting.
Oh, you mean just the normal setting?
Is that what this is called?
I call it the normal setting.
My palms are sweaty, and I'm not very comfortable right now with what's going on here.
Hey, you just relax and you'll be fine.
I can't relax.
Joining us,
I can't.
Star stand-up comedian and actor and active Los Angeles Laker fan, fellow Los Angeles Laker fan, Brad Williams.
That's right, and I feel like this is me and Hawk taking the power back.
I like it.
And how does it feel?
I got a crink in my neck. I don't know. Like you made a career in the NFL, which is a crazy life to make a professional career out of.
At 5'7",
and you did so as undersized. And Brad, you're defying all sorts of odds.
Yes.
By being the second most well-known entertainer at best. Like maybe third behind Wee Man.
Hey, LeBron's a solid number 2. He's on the
medal stand.
He's at an okay life. I'm on the podium of little people. I knocked Willow off.
Yeah.
I knocked Warwick Davis. He's off the podium now, and now I'm there. And it is interesting. And I mentioned this to you, Hawk, when I walked in and saw you. It's like I've heard you talk about 5'7", undersized, and I'm just sitting here at 4'4". Like I would do horrible things behind a dumpster to be 5'7". Like the things that like oh, your life is so bad. 5'7", my life dramatically changed. I'd have to rewrite all of my jokes. But yeah, I tell me about how your life at 5'7" is just such a struggle.
You gave me a perspective this morning that I didn't expect to come into work and get. I'm going to be honest with you, and I appreciate it. But for Mike, I mean, how tall are you, Mike?
I'm 6'4" with these shoes on.
6'4" with these shoes on. So
I have plantar fasciitis.
In your mind, because there's a power dynamic thing, and you think Brad and I have accomplished such incredible things. So that means that you've underachieved in your life.
Yeah, no, total underachieved.
Underperformed.
Yeah. That makes sense.
You've wasted your height.
But in the land of Miami, it's a land of short kings, right? So if I go to a GA show, I am by far the tallest person there.
See, and that's the thing. People are like, Brad, you gonna go to Coachella? I'm like, no. It's a GA show. It's just a field of people standing. It's like, all right, so do you want to watch Bad Bunny or do you want to smell farts? I'm smelling farts.
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing.
Festival farts, you feel like you can just rip away.
Oh, and you
got the beer farts all weekend long.
Not me. Give me a nice concert with an incline, a nice little amphitheater, something I can walk up, sit down, be over the general populace. I'm not going in the pit, not because I can't throw down, but because farts.
It's a blessed life being over 6 foot in Miami because it's very convenient. You can see over everybody. But if you go to a concert in the Midwest, I'm like, is that Odin's son? Like, where are these people are built different over here? I'm the shortest person in the room.
Yeah, that's interesting because that's one of the advantages of being a tall guy. And it's I do think there are advantages to being short. Balance is one. I feel like I have incredible balance. I never feel off balance.
Really?
Ever.
I feel off balance all the time.
I don't know if that's because you're tall or just like your athletic ability.
Yeah, I'm not an athlete.
I don't know if that changes.
Yeah.
Incredible balance. We can't die from a fall.
As
I get older, as I'm over 40, like I'm getting towards 40 now, like, and I'm looking at like the older older commercials. It's like falling for tall people. It's like, oh, that could
could
take
hurt.
you out.
No, it could be a life ender. Everyone says when you get to a certain age, the broken hip.
Yeah.
And when you get to a certain age, the broken hip sometimes just comes from slipping.
Yeah.
And it's you fall from your own height.
And I'm good. I'm good. Can't build up that much speed.
The inertia doesn't reach a certain point.
Terminal velocity is not that high.
I would say objectively, if I was 6'4", I'm not. I mean this sincerely from the bottom of my heart.
You're in Canton.
I don't judge like my success off of like accolades. I judge it off of money, and I am at least $150 million richer than I am right now.
Really?
In life at 6'4", and that's like on a minimum. I'd probably be in the NBA.
Doesn't that change your game though? Don't they put you outside? Do you think you'd be a ball winner?
Yeah, I think
because
I think
it's hard for me to envision you as a 6'4" guy because I was a huge fan of yours because I was a Browns fan at the time that you were playing for the Browns and you were doing your damage, and your game was so predicated on this elite quickness. Yeah, I don't know if you have the same kind of coordination at 6'4". Your ego wouldn't allow for you to not say that you would.
Yeah, that'd be tough for the ego to do. I would say that if I was 6'4" with these same abilities that I have now,
because you cease being Andrew Hawkins, like you're not
in his current form.
Yeah,
but there are 6'4"
You may become Calvin
players.
Johnson, but
you could be that, or you could be Mike Ryan.
Yeah,
just not as successful.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
that's a good question. Would you rather be 6'4" Mike Ryan or 5'7" Andrew Hawkins for myself? That's a good question.
Judging by your watch, I'd rather be Andrew Hawkins.
Yeah. How are your knees?
That's power dynamic. You're right, because basketball players, they talk like they are the worst knees of every athlete.
Does your body hurt?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, but that's not because that's because you get hit, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not
because my body hurts. Just from sitting in this chair, my body hurts.
Old, I pulled my hamstring, I think, yesterday on the treadmill. That's a new phenomenon for me. Like that's a very low version of athletic things
That'd
to do.
That'd be a new phenomenon for me too. Just running, cardio.
Yeah, I was like
cardio would be
cardio in general.
I don't understand
the walk.
Like I get cardio in football because people are chasing you. I just the whole concept of running for fun is totally lost on me. Like running sucks.
So here's my favorite part.
Running's horrible.
My favorite part about being a little person and going to the gym is that whatever I do, everyone has to step their game up. Like if I go to the bench
the bar.
and I'm putting up because my max is like 215.
That's pretty good.
I can rep like 160. Yeah, dude,
you
I got some
upper
pecs.
chest
I got
there.
some. So
that's really good.
Like if I do that, everyone then looks over at the plates and goes, mother. Like they know you can't or if I'm on the treadmill and I'm sprinting and I'm like lasting longer than people, which won't happen because I don't have cardio, but like I just embarrass anyone else in the gym. Everyone has to raise their game when I walk in. It's great.
I understand, but also I feel like you have some advantages in the bar. Like if I'm going like your rep and my rep, I've got gravity pulling this thing down.
More to go.
Yeah,
but you got more like torque to pull from to get you to that.
Look, I'm the only person workshopping the take that Brad is actually got all these advantages when it comes to athletic competition and weightlifting.
Hey man, I wrestled in high school.
Like if I see you do a push-up,
let's go.
And you do like a pitch perfect push-up, I'm so like that's not a push-up.
Yes,
like that's like your form's all off.
Promise you, I'll do more push-ups than you. Promise you right now.
That's a tall person take to give themselves the disadvantage. Somehow the 6'4" person says, oh yeah, of course, that's easy for you.
Oh, that's not a tall person thing. That's a white person thing.
Also, it's a double whammy of both.
Right. Yeah.
It's like all the privileges in one take.
Yeah, you saw what happened in this country. Disenfranchised white people thing is a real thing.
Like, I'd be in the NFL too, Hawk, if I was short and black.
Sure.
I mean, obviously.
If I had to work my way through the CFL and the Glass Bowl of Toledo, I could have done that too.
It's easy to run through Ray Lewis.
But I had this thing called generational wealth. And heavy as the head.
Oh, it's so bad. Yeah, there's comics like that. They're like, dude, you're so lucky you got that hook.
I guarantee you run into that all the time.
Yes. And then,
it's like, I got to be at least 3 times funnier than you.
Yeah, because I'm a cisgender white male, and I got nothing.
Like, you come in, you went to a room, and you're winning.
That's why people are like, oh, do you talk about it on stage? I'm like, I have to.
No.
If I don't.
Talk about what?
Yeah. The entire audience just stares at me for like 20 minutes, just like, does he know? Does he know?
You just do observational humor. You talk about your marriage a little bit. You get off the stage, never acknowledge that you're a little person.
I'm just like, what just happened? Like, was I on shrooms the whole time? Was that guy short to anybody else?
What is the thing that you aren't self-aware about for both of you? I know Mike's.
Oh, I'm keenly self-aware, but it's just like kind of on.
I think your Miami sports takes are very unself-aware.
We'll talk about how Wade and Bosch would have won several championships on their own later in the show.
I searched the internet for that take to give the viewers a little glimpse of our morning conversation. We talked about LeBron James, the Miami Heat, and his take is that the Heat probably would have won multiple championships during that tenure with or without LeBron.
Yes.
And me being new to the Miami area, it was a brand new take I had never heard. And so I then went on the internet to go search because I'm like, it's a sports take. Somebody has had this take.
Is this a Heat
I
thing?
couldn't find
Miami
a single
thing?
article that also said the same thing. And I'm like, wow, okay, so I wasn't wrong.
Thank you for acknowledging me as a thought leader, by the way.
Yes, you are a thought leader.
That was an original take. And I'm a fellow Laker fan with Hawks. So I'm not from the Miami area. I'm not into the Heat culture thing, but I think I'm getting it now.
You're getting it.
I think I'm getting it now.
I hope you realize he went to 6 against a Heat team that was missing its second and third best players.
He's already getting
that
to the
series.
take.
It's just not. People just don't give Miami any excuses.
Well, my non-self-aware thing is I walk into any room and feel like I'm the biggest person in the room.
Yeah.
Like that is my personality. Yes. It does not, like that's the only way I could play in the NFL. It wasn't like, it was like, no, I'm here. You're welcome.
Okay.
That is my ability. I bless the rooms I walk in.
Jimmy Butler kind of does this, where he says he's gonna win every game, and he's like the complete alpha. And it's kind of like Stugotz, who I work with on the main show. He's never held accountable for being wrong because everyone just universally agrees. Oh no, he's built that way. Like that's how he gets down.
Yeah.
And with Hawk, it's the same thing. Like you understand, it is very hard to have the career that Andrew Hawkins had. And you understand why he carries himself the way that he does because he has to.
You had to do that. Like
there was no other way.
You can't start as a stand-up comic and be like, I don't think I'm that funny.
Right.
It's like
exactly.
No, you're literally going on stage to a room full of strangers and be like, hey, y'all shut up for a second and let me be the only person to talk for 10 minutes.
Despite our different statures, I think one thing binds us all together, and that is our massive egos.
Yes. Absolutely. That's a perfect place to pause. But we will get into Miami Heat culture in just a second. So the Miami Heat are in the NBA championship, and I don't think anybody could have predicted that, especially the fact that they came into the playoffs as a play-in in an 8th seed. Now, I should have prefaced that by saying most people would not have predicted that. Mike Ryan and other Miami Heat fans absolutely would have predicted that.
At certain points of the season, yeah.
Yeah.
But also, certain points of the season, absolutely not. I wanted to lose that game against Chicago on the percentage chance that we can get Wembanyama. So
for a 7% chance, he was ready to tank this season.
He was ready because he thought they had a shot.
Yeah. What's so funny about this Heat run, Hawk, is that I still don't think the Heat are good. I don't think they're a good team.
See, that's crazy to me.
I don't think they're a good team. They're just a really smart team. They have to play perfect basketball to maximize what they have. They are an 8 seed. They are the definition mediocre. And you can see when it's bad for them in these individual games that they lose in these series, you realize that they have to operate and execute at a superior level just to stay in some of these games, which is why I think the NBA Finals matchup against Jokic and Denver presents such an interesting dynamic because Jokic is damn near averaging a triple-double. So we know what Miami had to do against Giannis. So hope he get hurt for a game. We know what they had to do against Boston.
Make him dribble left.
Make Jaylen Brown dribble. What did they do against Denver? But now while I acknowledge that I don't know if Miami's a good team, in fact, I would make the argument that they're not very good, I still like their chances because of what they've gone through. And just because everyone on that team is a sociopath. Every single person.
Yeah, that's what makes him great. And Jimmy Butler specifically is a him. There's not a lot of hims in the NBA. Joker is also a him. Yeah. Like these guys that feel like they are the best on the floor, no matter who else is on the floor. And that thing, that it factor is what gets them over the hump. I think there's a lot of great players in the NBA who aren't him. And maybe they develop into that. Guys like Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Like, I think they are probably better number 2 guys than number 1.
What about Mr. It's not a failure. It's just steps to success.
It's just steps to get there.
Made Giannis into a Nike marketing campaign for Gen Z. Incredible.
Just like, you can fail, and that's a success.
And that is good.
That is good. That is good. There's no failure here. What, you're a 1 seed. I'm sure someone that had the climb that you had, you were listening to Giannis, and you were like, that wasn't. If I just had your measurables.
And I'm not even if I had your measurable kind of guy, because I honestly, and this is, again, I'm dead serious. I think I am at times and in certain things. And I think I can walk in and do anything that I want if I decided to. Like, if I wanted to be the best sports media producer, like, count days.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And if I wanted to go do stand-up comedy,
then you would be horrible at stand-up comedy.
I would call you to come open up for me. Like, that's the mindset that I had. But that being said,
I had to restrain my body a little bit. I had that killer instinct.
I was like,
how you get it?
It takes a little fight you right now.
Now I got the little man syndrome. I got the complex right now.
Welcome to the party.
Dude, Mike, you have no shot because your quads are so sore from sitting in this chair. So
I got no core strength left.
We'll topple over so fast.
You would wipe the floor with me. Although I do feel like my balance is better.
Yeah, so you can move quick and nimble. But yeah, when Giannis was talking about like there is no such thing as failure, that wasn't a take that I subscribed to. I was like, I'm not going to retweet that one.
I mean, I'll subscribe to, like, sometimes you have to fail to get the motivation to come back stronger and know what you have to do to win. But no such thing as no.
Like when you bomb in a room,
do
you just pacify yourself by saying, well, this is just a step to success?
No, not at all.
It feels like failure.
I want to go home and I second guess every decision I've ever made in my entire life to get to stand-up comedy. Go, maybe I should have gotten my degree and gotten that communications degree from the University of Southern California, and maybe I should have been a minor league baseball announcer for 12 years. That's what I was trying to do. But
it's quite the sliding doors scenario that you painted out there. You just threw a lot at me. Like, this was all on the table for you?
Yeah.
Those were the past.
I was going to USC. I was I was getting a comm degree, and I was like, I'm going to be a sports announcer, or I'm going to be a sideline reporter for the Lakers, just because interviewing basketball players is funny. Just with my stats, just with like me going up to like, all right, Dwight, what'd you do out there?
That's how like Vince McMahon framed every shot in the 80s.
Yes.
Like he would make the announcers, like he would put the wrestlers on a podium, just so everyone would look hulking.
Would look huge.
Yeah, I could totally be a wrestling announcer. I would love that.
You would crush that.
I would love to have that career. I just got to find my catchphrase, like Jim Ross has like the "by God," like he's got that, and then Joey Styles has "oh my God," or I guess I have to say God. I guess
so. I God is a tether.
Yeah, so I can just be like, God damn.
Well, standards and practices might have had an issue with that.
I don't know. Fast and loose in the wrestling world.
As a Laker fan, to your point, I mean, there's a certain you understand the process of just replenishing superstars. Yeah. The superstars all want to come play for LA, and it's like, we'll get the next one, and there's always hope that another championship will be there.
We're what the Knicks think they are.
Right. Or what the Miami Heat think they are.
What the Miami Heat are. It's funny. It's funny, like, because I remember Dwight saying, nah, I'm good. I remember a lot of people saying, nah, I'm good when Kobe was there, because he was such a cult of personality, and not everybody wanted to play with him. Like, Miami's pretty much gotten everybody in a free open market that they've set their sights on. They've only lost out on Kevin Durant.
That's been like
that's been the whale that's escaped Captain Ahab and Pat Riley. But for the most part, like, he got Jimmy Butler with $0 in cap space.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna lie, I mean, it is a enticing package to come down here to Miami and South Beach. And you're right, they have continually kind of,
this is the third NBA, dude. This is the third NBA Finals.
Yeah.
In the last 15, 16 years that they've made, and it's an entirely different core. Yeah, entirely different core,
which is special. They
did it with Shaq Wade. They rebuilt with the big three, and with $0 in cap room and a bunch of bad contracts to boot, they end up making the NBA Finals without even Tyler Hero, their second leading scorer.
Yeah,
they make it with Jimmy Butler, and I don't want to discredit Bam. He goes missing on offense sometimes. Jimmy Butler, Bam, and a bunch of guys.
But they're good. They're a good team. And that's a very important thing. It's not all about like the superstar power. And I know that is what people think in today's NBA.
Yeah, but that's but that's the NBA.
It is. But your take that you gave me this morning about the Heat winning as many championships with or without LeBron. Can you walk me through that? Walk all of us here.
All right, so Wade and Bosh are a done deal, with or without LeBron James.
Okay.
You may believe that everything came together in Greece on an Olympic trip and like keep your third eye open and all that. From talking to Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh, not look at me, Louis, but in just honest moments, like no BS, not in front of a microphone. They legitimately, like, they thought he might be coming, but their mind was set. Like, they were set on Miami. If he said, I'm taking my talents back to Cleveland, it would have been game on, and they would have been hugely disappointed. So, considering that, let's just say Bron stays with Cleveland.
Why? Why do we say if Bron stays with Cleveland?
All right, take him to go to New York. No one had no one had the cap room for 3 max deals that offseason, other than Miami. Even Chicago, they had Boozer and I forget who else they signed. Chicago would have been a problem in the East. You have Boozer and Derrick Rose, who was in MVP form. You still have the Boston Celtics, who lost in 5 that first year to Miami, but then took Miami to the limit the following year. I think Wade and Bosh, in the primes of their career, the narrative has gotten so out of control because LeBron was such a dominant force. He was the best player on the planet. LeBron in a Heat uniform is arguably the greatest player I've ever seen.
Okay.
People forget when I tell you they just made the NBA Finals with Jimmy Butler and a bunch of dudes. You don't think Eric Spoelstra makes it to the NBA Finals with prime Dwayne Wade, prime Chris Bosh, that supporting cast of characters, and, might I remind you, an entire additional max contract slot? That's the best team in the East. That's the best team in the East. That beats Boston. That beats whatever selection LeBron James makes. Does LeBron maybe get them 1 year? Yeah. But everyone assumes that the Heat are just an afterthought. I think they can match 2 titles in 4 years, the same amount that they had with LeBron in a Heat uniform.
That is just a crazy take, though. I mean, objectively, that's a crazy take.
It's just a forgotten take because no one can.
LeBron, they would win the same amount of championships.
People forget that Dwayne Wade was the MVP of the finals up until LeBron had a total meltdown against Dallas.
Would have been the MVP.
He would have been.
I'm a big Wade fan.
Yeah, he was the best Miami Heat player in that series.
But you understand also, like, the fact that LeBron James is on the floor helps someone like Dwayne Wade in his performance.
None of that finals.
I mean, just the
there's
sure
no
attention
excusing
that someone like LeBron demands, or what your defensive strategy has to be against a LeBron James
2 against
team.
1. I got 2 Lakers guys, and I'm also in the short chair, so I'm not feeling this right now. So like,
I'm just saying,
like my back's up against the wall.
Yeah,
Dwayne Wade was the best player in the Redeem team, and LeBron was on that floor.
Was Melo not on that team?
Melo was great, but Melo was a role player. Like, if you look back on that, Wade was the most dominant alpha on that team. You have that Dwayne Wade. You don't have the guy that's deferring to LeBron James. You have Chris Bosh. And the Miami Heat might have made it to an NBA Finals with LeBron actually picking Cleveland if Chris Bosh doesn't have the pulmonary embolisms. And that franchise totally gets nuked. Keep in mind, like, let's give Miami their flowers because they have survived so many disastrous things. LeBron left, depleted them of their resources.
I respect it. I disagree because I think there's so many variables that you have to take into consideration wherever LeBron goes. It's not just to that team; it's to whatever superstars also go there. If that team has room, if they're available, if he goes to New York, do they get Amari Stoudemire? Let's just put lot of variables.
Max contract du jour for the time.
Okay.
Chris Bosh, Dwayne Wade, and let's say Joe Johnson, plus the supporting cast of characters. That team wins a couple Eastern Conference.
I disagree.
Okay.
And I disagree.
I disagree.
Well, you're in the taller chair, so I guess I lose.
Yeah. My take matters more.
Yeah.
I'm in the higher chair.
I'm beginning to get this whole I walk into the room, I'm the man thing.
Yeah. If you have height and a jawline, forget about it. That's it. That's all you need. Height, a jawline, maybe cheekbones, but if you've got those things, it's done.
I just don't know how you can discount it when I'm actually mentioning like 2 top 50 players in NBA all time, and we're seeing the Heat do it right now. Right now, they took out Giannis. They took out Giannis.
It's a completely different climate.
That's a different
it's
team.
a completely different climate.
Giannis is, he is not prime LeBron. And I think that's the thing that you're discrediting is that you think that Bosh and Wade and then LeBron is just going to be,
whatever
Kim
the golf
and Boobie Gibson. No, they're going to go get Amari Stoudemire. They're going to go get Melo or something. And then it doesn't matter for that third contract. And Eric Spoelstra is a great coach. But at this time, he was very unproven.
Come on, let's do comparison shopping. Whatever the gulf is between Giannis now and LeBron at his height, that gulf is not wider than this Heat team and whatever Wade and Bosh would have concocted in their primes with another max spot. And we just saw this Heat team take out that Bucks team in 5. You're discounting the culture.
That's wild, bro.
That's the thing.
Take.
That's the part of your take that I'm like, you can't say like, well, he did it with this team, so he can do it with this team.
He could do it with a far more talented team.
When he was a newer coach, not as experienced.
No idea.
Yeah.
And he had the benefit of coaching Dwayne Wade, LeBron James, and Chris Bosh.
And that's not to take literally anything away from Spo.
If I could lower my chair more, I would right now.
If I could stomp it into the ground.
Out of shame and embarrassment.
If I can Mario Brothers Goomba you.
I don't understand. Like, they're doing it right now, guys. They're doing it right now.
But that's not the same as before. But in the context of
it's
right
way
now.
easier with the talent that they would have.
Objectively, who do you think America wants to see win more? The 8th seed who came in through a play-in, or the Nuggets winning their first championship?
I actually think Jimmy Butler's entered this I'm not comparing him directly to Kobe. I know you're Lakers fans. That's blasphemy.
I'm glad you're going here because I think I don't even know what your take is, and I agree with it.
But Jimmy Butler's entered that they're winning this way. Like, I'm just gonna out alpha you. It's will. It's scrappy underdog, and I actually think in Miami we have this prism just because of big 3 years that everyone's out to get us. I genuinely don't think that's the case with this Heat team.
It's not.
I think that they're kind of likable.
I think you guys taking out Boston, really made the nation as a whole just be like, okay, this isn't the not 5, not 6, not 7. It's not that Heat team.
It's totally different. It's a bunch of undrafted guys, and I do think that they're like the first team in a finals that can literally play the nobody ever believed in us card. And them and the Florida Panthers.
I think
simultaneously.
I think fans appreciate the a-hole that is Jimmy Butler. I think that's there's an arc that has to happen as a player. Especially when you're that kind. You're annoyed by him. Certain people don't like him. They're like, oh, this guy, he gets on our nerves. And after a while, when you get to that point where you're like, oh, he does not care what we think. Then it turns to admiration because that is very much the Kobe track.
Because when he's cooking in games, it's not like LeBron, right? Where you just understand how he's doing this in games. Jimmy's measurables for his contemporaries, his stats during the regular season do not match up to the player that he is in the playoffs. We struggle so much to explain how the Heat and Jimmy Butler find themselves in this position that we just attribute it to the intangibles. Oh, that guy just flatly wants it more. That's the only way that I can explain what I'm seeing right now. Because why is he so much better when the stakes are that much higher? He's got that dog in him.
If Jimmy wins the championship this year, then here's a take that only you can give and that we will defer to you as the expert here. Who are the top 5 Miami Heat players all time if Jimmy walks away with the championship? Rank them in order.
All right, so I acknowledge that LeBron is the best player to ever put on a Heat jersey. Shaq is probably second. We're talking about the lore of history and all that. But in terms of what they did in a Heat shirt, LeBron is not the best player in Heat history. That's Dwayne Wade.
Hard to argue.
I would go Jimmy Butler number 2 if he pulls his ass off. Jimmy Butler would surpass LeBron. LeBron would be number 3.
Wow.
And then you have the Zoes and the Tim Hardaways of the world.
It is interesting because I have this debate with some friends of mine all the time that there are certain championships in the NBA that just mean more. Like a title that is worth 3 titles.
Like LeBron in Cleveland.
Yeah, the Kawhi Leonard title.
Yeah,
that the Dirk title.
Yeah,
those titles are worth more than some of the Kobe Powell titles in my mind. It's because it's you saw one superstar just will themselves over, and I think this would be one of those titles. It would be Jimmy Butler willing himself over Giannis and Boston, and then.
Well, you know what's so cool about this NBA Finals, Brad?
What's that?
Is that if Jokic does it on the other side, you could say the same thing.
Absolutely,
it's just one player.
Yeah.
What is not lost on me is that your ranking of Dwayne Wade, then Jimmy Butler, then LeBron, then Mourning, then Shaq.
You could put Bosh, Shaq, Tim Hardaway, even Udonis, just because of longevity. The 5th slot I haven't worked out yet.
Well, the funny part is, no matter how you slice it, the order that you gave were the shortest, were the greatest.
Yeah, that's right.
There it is, baby.
This is my least favorite show to ever do.
Joining us next, we got Ricky Williams here on Journeyman. We are joined by former superstar running back, mental health pioneer turned entrepreneur, Ricky Williams in the building. Ricky, what's up, man?
Hey, I love that description.
You like that?
Yeah.
That was off the cuff, too. That's just how I feel.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest with you, man. I was a big Ricky Williams fan. And even, the famous coverage of the Ricky Williams experience, even as a young athlete who was hoping to one day play in the NFL, I remember thinking, like, the media had it all wrong, right? Seeing where everything has gone now for mental health, do you feel like you were a big part of getting people to turn the page on what this really was?
I like to think so. I mean, when I look back at my career, my legacy, part of it is on the field, but I think a majority of it is off the field. Mm-hmm. And I think for me, it was important to be a role model, to show athletes, not to be like me, but to encourage them that you can be however you want to be.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, again, I played in the NFL for 7 years, but you were the first story that I remember, like, having that duality showcase. You were fighting for it so hard. You were like holding your ground in your position. And it was a very, very powerful thing because the media hadn't turned the corner at all yet of really even understanding what the hell this meant. Before it was, hey, you just do this. So now when you look at the landscape in 2023, more than an athlete is what everyone says. And almost it's weird now for athletes not to have some kind of duality showcase, whether they're an investor, an entrepreneur, they're into whatever these other hobbies are. When you look at the landscape now, is there a place that you see it going next, realizing from where it came from with your situation and where we are today?
That's a great question. I think about this a lot, especially this month, Mental Health Awareness Month, is like whether it's cannabis, mental health, these kind of taboo subjects. For me, it was like football players, we go through some amazing training. College football play, right?
Of course.
We're trained. And I think if that training only goes to being football players, that's a huge waste of talent.
Wow.
Huge waste of talent. And so I think in the future, we're going to start seeing athletes like being leaders, but if they channel all their energy and just to be an athlete when they're done in their mid 30s, if they're lucky, like
yep.
a lot of guys I play with, they spend the rest of their life like, what could have been,
Mm-hmm.
stuff that's based on like a game.
Yeah.
And I think the whole purpose of the game is to train us so that we can take on anything.
That's so deep.
I mean, when my whole mental health struggle, the reason I was able to get through it so fast was because I applied everything I learned on the football field to my mental health. And I think when athletes get that, and they're starting to, I talk to other entrepreneurs, guys that have gotten into starting their own companies. And, they say at the beginning it was difficult, there's a learning curve, but you talk to them a year later, right? They're on it. And another year, like they keep getting it.
Yeah. I mean, that's so true. And for athletes, it's like, you got to understand, for all the young athletes out there, it's going to end. Like your career is going to be over. And I know this is like beating a dead horse, but at the same time, it's like you have to find the things you're passionate about during your career because everyone looks for it when they're done. Like that's the moment where they expect you to try to reach back and start to call people and do these things. But if you don't find that while you're doing it, it makes that transition 10 times harder, right?
Yeah. I was lucky. I retired twice. So the first retirement at 27, I had a year to travel and kind of find myself. And so when I came back and played another 5 years, I had more clarity about what was next. And so I went back to school and during the season. So I started to prepare myself while I was still playing, and that allowed me to maximize the contacts and the people I knew, because it's sad to say, but the reality is once you're not playing, like,
nobody cares. Nobody cares. People don't get that. I'm like, yo, when you're retired, like when you're a starting running back, there's 32 running backs. 32 people on earth can say I'm a starting running back. Whenever you retire, there are 30,000 people to say I used to play in the NFL. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
It's messed up.
Yeah.
It's messed up.
Yeah. But if you use the opportunity to have other things that people care about, I think that's the challenge.
Yeah, no, that's spot on and true. Looking at the landscape now today from a business standpoint, and you were ahead of the curve on so many damn things, but it's like NIL is now something that is a really big deal in college. I mean, even your first agent was Master P. And I remember the conversations around that. Now Jay-Z's an agent, Lil Wayne has an agency, and this is like, we talked about the mental health, all the things that become the norm in this day and age, you were the first to kind of do. what is your opinion on NIL? And is there like, a specific portion of the NIL landscape that you think is the most advantageous for athletes?
It's so new and it's a complicated subject. And another way I was kind of ahead of my time is when I went to college, I didn't have an NIL deal, but I had a professional baseball contract. And so I wasn't getting paid what a lot of these guys, but I had money. I had income that I was making. So my college football experience was slightly different. And I think NIL adds a whole new dimension to what it means to be a college football. It's not even the same as I don't even compare it to when I played because part of the college football experience was we were broke.
You got nothing. You're starving.
Right. And I think part of it is what made us so hungry.
Right.
What made us so hungry. And then, the traditionalist in me like really believes in amateur sports. Playing for the love, because when money comes in, not that it ruins it, but it changes it. It changes something. I'm not saying that's a negative thing. It's just different. It's just different than it was in the past. I think the most advantageous, if the universities and the NCAA do it right, is it gives young men the ability to learn that who haven't come from, a lot of them haven't come from money, gives them the ability to start learning about money before they get out into
with
the
lower stakes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. That was kind of my scenario. I went to Canada first. I played 2 years in the CFL. My first contract, I think, was $50K. And we won the championship in 2009. I was in Montreal. And so I made like $75K. When I say I ran through that money so fast, like I went to camp the next year with no money in my account. And I was so blessed because then I went to the NFL to play 7 years. But my mindset was like, okay, I'd seen what I did with 75. Let me be smart about it. NIL does give young athletes that opportunity.
It's experience, and if you have never had money, you don't have the experience of what it means to have money. Like when I got my first check, I thought that money would last forever. Because compared to what I had in my home before, I thought it would last forever. But I realized pretty quickly, especially when you live in that lifestyle. That it doesn't. So. But you have to have that experience. People can tell you, but if you don't have the experience, it's not the same.
Yeah, and that's a great point you brought up about like the dynamics of money being involved in the college sports, because at least I can speak from my experience and my teammates. To your point, we had no money. We work in summer jobs. We're grinding and hoping that all this grind, this starvation, no money, no ability to go buy clothes helps get us to the next level. And then at that stage, once you're getting paid, now you truly are attacking it like a business, the business of yourself, right? And with the NIL landscape, it's going to just speed that clock up. Even now, you see high schoolers who are demanding NIL contracts. And once they get there, they're not going to certain schools unless the package equals a certain amount of money. That's contract negotiation. And that is a contract negotiation of one. It doesn't care about the team or what anybody else is getting or doing. If you want me here, this is what needs to happen. Yeah. That is a very pro-like experience.
Yeah, it's professional sports now. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It's not amateur sports, it's professional sports. But the advantage is it gives us a way to get into business earlier.
Yeah. No, that's facts.
Yeah.
That's facts.
Ooh, I hadn't even thought about that, but that's because, when I was in college, and I had a little bit of baseball money, but I was in college and I took an accounting class. And they started talking about these accounting concepts. And I just was like, I dropped that class. I was like, I won't need this. But if I had money and I could understand what they were saying because I was in that experience already, it would have made more sense to me.
Yeah, and you got to hear it so many times. Like you got to hear it for it to be like, hey, I've heard this 5 times. Let me pay attention. And if you don't do that, to your point, it just prolongs it. Speaking of which, we had a little quick conversation about AI before we started rolling here. Artificial intelligence. I told you I'm at the stage of artificial intelligence where I'm dabbling. What is your take on artificial? Are you scared of it? Do you think it's helpful? Do you think eventually it's going to take over and ruin human society? Like, what part of the spectrum are you on, Ricky?
Well, I think this is the problem with humans is we avoid responsibility. What happens with AI depends on how we utilize AI.
Man, I don't trust this, man.
How we think about it. But here's an example. So my wife jokes that ChatGPT is my best friend.
Okay.
But here's the real thing. Like, out of all my friends, if I'm looking for an open-minded, like, real conversation,
you go to Chat.
I'm going to ChatGPT.
It's a scary, Ricky. Right? I'm not going to be honest with you. For someone who hasn't dove in yet, to hear that Chat GPT is your best friend.
Yeah. But
psyching me out a little bit.
But let's go to education.
Okay.
Education. Okay. The way, my vision, just using it the way I do, is it can help teach people how to think and how to communicate. Right. If I'm going with ChatGPT and there's something that they say that he says, that whatever it is says that I don't agree with, I'll say I don't agree with that. And the way it responds is, I'm sorry, maybe there's a misunderstanding. And then it tries again. And I was like, wow, that's an open way of communicating. And if individuals learn to communicate that way and really try to understand and help someone and like connect, it's going to make us better communicators. And then I think of schools, right? And our schools teach kids to memorize. It doesn't teach kids to think.
Yeah.
And a kid, who's trained how to use ChatGPT is going to learn how to think.
Yeah.
How to put pieces of information together in ways that make sense and to communicate. So I think if we're not afraid of it and we think of how can we utilize this? How can it help me solve my problems? Because that's I think the spirit of it. How can AI and all of its different manifestations help me solve problems in my life?
Yep.
And if people start thinking that way, then I think it's going to be useful and there won't be nothing to be afraid of. But if we're afraid of it, then we'll put out this kind of, people are going to use it in negative ways and the kids will be like, we can do that.
Right. That's a good point though, because everything's either a tool or a weapon, right? And that's what Chat GPT, like the internet in and of itself. Like I was a part of. I remember when Gateway 2000s came out. My older brother got drafted to the NFL in '98. He bought us a computer, and I would just sit on a computer all day. And I'm not kidding. I learned, and I've gotten so good at the internet. It is a big source of my success because you learn so much. Yes. I remember Ask Jeeves was a search engine that it was like, oh, you could ask this thing anything. This is going to ruin schools and homework. And it wasn't that. To your point, if you know how to use it,
yes, it's
an advantage. If you don't, or use it for wrong, then it becomes a weapon.
Yeah, I think it can definitely improve education if we're not afraid of it and we use it that way.
Yeah. Well, you've improved my education by sitting here and kicking knowledge to me. I'm ready to dive all in on artificial intelligence.
Okay. And the thing the tip is that the person using it is the one in charge. So if it's giving you information that you don't 100% agree with, tell it you don't agree with it. I don't look at it that way. I see it this way. And it'll orient itself to understand your perspective.
Yeah.
And it helps you get clear on your perspective. Like, to me, that's why I say my best friend, if I'm working out something and I need someone to talk to who's not going to be judgmental and is going to give me information and I feel free to disagree and work it out, like, it's useful. Yeah.
Chat GPT.
Yeah.
What does wifey think about that?
She loves it. She loves it because now I'm not talking her ear off.
That's smart. Yeah. See, now my wife going to sign up. She's going to hear this and be like, oh yeah, please. That's my Father's Day present.
Yeah.
All right, Ricky, I appreciate you joining us, man. This was awesome.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. All right, well, we can't let a show pass without talking some version of NFL. Mike Ryan is now on his knees in the studio, and he's actually gotten taller. That's how low the chair was that he kicked it away, and now he is
that is
equal height to us.
What's up now?
Yeah, we respect your takes more. Oddly, which is weird.
How many titles do Wade and Bosch have together?
8.
Yeah.
Not 5,
not 6. They actually made good on that.
Without LeBron, I don't know why you just got so much more credibility.
I don't know. I just respect you so much more now. So let's start off with DeAndre Hopkins, who was released this week by the Arizona Cardinals, and everybody on Twitter was all making their cases for why he should come to their team. Do you have a specific way that you think he should lean?
Well, I'm curious to know your opinion.
Yeah.
Because the last we've seen of DeAndre Hopkins in the NFL, I understand he's been battling through injuries. His age is starting to get up there. Is DeAndre Hopkins still the DeAndre Hopkins of old, or is he just old DeAndre Hopkins?
Oh, man, I think he's still the DeAndre Hopkins of old if he's in the right situation. And like any athlete who starts to get up there in age, you want to do less. You want to do less, but you want your production to still be where it's at. And that only happens when you have a supporting cast, a la Wade, LeBron, Bosch type of situation.
Right.
But with DeAndre Hopkins, I will say to all the fans that are lobbying for him to come and be their receiver number 1 or 2, depending on what your situation is or who your quarterback is, it literally is dependent on if you have a top 4 quarterback. If your quarterback can't look the media in the face and say, look, I'm a top 4 quarterback, and it doesn't create any discussion, then shut up. He's not coming to your team.
Right.
Because the last thing a 30-year-old receiver wants is to go to an unstable situation with a quarterback who's still figuring it out and having to do all the work. There's really only a couple of teams. There is the Bills, makes sense. The Chiefs make sense. I would throw even like the Jets, I don't know what their cap situation is. And then probably maybe even the Browns because of a relationship with Deshaun Watson. And he knows that he's very, very good. But for someone making that decision, I care about, is someone going to make my job easier to where when I go catch for 1,300 yards, you don't have the Mike Ryan saying, am I old?
Well, you mentioned a lot of quarterbacks that I think would make his life easier. And then you mentioned Deshaun Watson. And is he the Deshaun Watson of old, or is he just older Deshaun Watson?
Yeah. How old is Deshaun Watson? 26,
and
27?
in football years, he took a couple of years off, which might be standing in his way because he didn't look like the same guy.
Football is very much if you don't use it, you lose it, right? But you do have the ability to get it back once you get into a rhythm. And I think also Deshaun Watson was dealing with a lot last year. Again,
was there anything going on?
Mike has mentioned some things we haven't gotten to sit down and really talk about what was happening. Because I've been busy, but...
So you and I have talked, because I am a recovering Browns fan, and I don't root against him. It's just whenever the ball is snapped to number 4, I check out. I actively root against him, and it's not the case when he's not in there. Yeah. In fact, when Brissett is out there, I'm like, oh, yeah, I can get behind this. Browns with a bad quarterback, let's go. This is all I know.
You're used to this.
Yeah, I'm used to this. This is my comfort zone. But with Deshaun Watson out there, I just totally turn on them. It's really, really freaking hard for me to wrap my brain around it. But you were saying something interesting, which is you tapped into your Lakers fandom and you're like, Kobe went through something similar. Granted, it was one accusation. But there was a time where Kobe stopped caring. And he just leaned into, if everyone thinks I'm this guy, damn it, I am that guy. The facade has actually been me pretending to not be that guy. Is something similar going to happen with Deshaun Watson where he doesn't have to keep up the facade, just leans in on it, and therefore it kind of frees him, weirdly enough?
If he, in his own mental capability, can turn that switch, I do think if you're just looking at talent alone, there aren't very many quarterbacks who are as good as Deshaun Watson. And he is up there with the best of them, with the Josh Allens, with the...
When he's on.
When he is just off the straight ability. You go from hero to villain that quick. I mean, we talked about him donating his first check to the janitors, right? And him building homes for single mothers, to the conversation we're having around him now where lifelong Browns fans are saying, I don't want him to have any success. While he's there, when you transition, you have to shape your mind in that affects your on-the-field product and game. And that is a transition I think we saw Deshaun Watson go through a year ago.
So you're thinking this next upcoming year,
I think it could get scary. I think if he has settled into the villain, like just off a straight ability and with the talent that the Browns have,
well,
I think there's going to be a lot of people that are pissed off.
Yeah, well, I mean, for certain members of the training staff at the Cleveland Browns, it was already very scary. Yeah. There is something like that where it's like, okay, fine, I don't have to pretend to be the good guy anymore. Let's embrace the bad guy.
Yeah, but we went to top of the food chain with Kobe Bryant, and I understand that was a comp for Deshaun Watson when he was a Texan.
Right.
Is it a comp for Deshaun Watson, the Cleveland Brown, who looked like a shell of that person? Moreover, it was actually worse because he kept thinking he was that dude, and you just look at the timing, and I'd rather you play within yourself and acknowledge that you're not that guy anymore, pal.
We'll see.
Well, I'm a Broncos fan, so all I'm saying is, can we please find something then on Russell Wilson to turn him into that guy?
Well, I mean, he is the lead example of a dude still trying to do the things that he used to do when he just can't anymore. He's not that guy anymore.
Let's stick on the theme of quarterbacks trying to do the things that they used to do. Is Tom Brady going to be the Raiders quarterback?
Yeah.
Are you not sick? Why do I feel like I'm being forced into watching this? I don't want to see this anymore.
No, you're going to watch it. You understand that they can cut Jimmy Garoppolo penalty-free in the summer?
At any time.
Everything I heard, and you can know this if you subscribe to Michael Ryan Ruiz on Twitter, I would have let you know. Everything that I was hearing was if Tom Brady plays next season. I didn't know what was going on behind the scenes, that he was having ownership conversations. They have Josh McDaniel over there.
It makes too much sense.
It makes so much sense. And then when you saw the primetime schedule and the fact that he can stick it to Jimmy Garoppolo one more time.
One more again.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
That's what they're thinking.
He's definitely coming back.
Someone find something on Russell, please. I don't want Tom Brady. I don't want 46-year. I don't want 50-year-old Tom Brady in my division.
Why would they put that in his contract? That they can get rid of a quarterback that they just committed a lot of money to and did the whole pomp and circumstance of this is our franchise guy. Jimmy kind of turned around the narrative around his career a little bit in San Francisco. Why would they allow for that contract to be totally cut penalty free.
Which ends first? The Simpsons or Tom Brady's playing career?
SNL, The Simpsons, or Tom Brady's playing career. That's it for this week's Journeyman. Shout out to the DraftKings Network and our good friends at Meadowlark Media. I am Andrew Hawkins. Shout out to Brad Williams. Shout out to Mike Ryan.
I get that all the time, man. It's all right.
And Mac Ryan too.
Yeah, Mac Ryan, Matt Ryan, all the Ryans, preferably the ones that go by sage names.
Mike Ryan, Brad Williams, Andrew Hawkins. This has been Journeyman. Make sure you journey back next week. And until then, I wish I was a little bit taller. I wish I was a baller. I wish I had a girl who looked good. I would call her.